Thanks, Hannah. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is the Planning Committee of Frome Town Council. My name's Steve Tanner. I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. We make our meetings available to as many people as possible, so we use a hybrid setup of here in the Town Hall and online via Zoom. Those in the room, little housekeeping, emergency exits to the rear of the room, assembly points in the car park. Toilets can be accessed at the end of the corridor on the right-hand side, or there is an accessible toilet to the right of the lift outside. Any panelists on Zoom, please use your electronic raise hand by clicking on the participants button at the bottom of your screen. Those in the room, please raise your hand. Attendees on Zoom, please pose questions to the Q&A board. Attendees' names will become visible on the questions board for the record as your question is answered. Again, those in the room, please raise your hand. Tonight, Jane will clerk, Hannah will manage the questions board, participant settings. The meeting is going to be recorded for minuting purposes, and the recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Any questions, comments, information, public councillors about things we're not discussing? No? Good. Apologies of absence received. Jane, we've got a few, haven't we?
We have apologies from Fiona, Lisa and Andy. Great. And Polly is not here yet, although we haven't received apologies yet.
Yeah, well, carry on in the meantime.
Yes, yeah, you need to vote. That was proposed by
Philip.
Seconded by Mark, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda, declaration of members' interests. We have all had to agree a dispensation for the Bowls Club tonight, which is one of the items we're going to be discussing, because Frome Town Council own the building. Is that correct?
Yeah, Frome Town Council own the building, so therefore you councillors need to declare an other non-registrable interest. And I confirm that I have got dispensation requests, but you will need to vote as to whether or not you will want to give yourselves dispensation.
A vote to give ourselves dispensation. So I propose that. Thank you.
And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Item 5 on the agenda, agree the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of March 2024. Anyone got any corrections, comments? No? Someone propose that then for me, please. Thanks, Philip. Thanks, Mark. I'll give it to you later. It's on the front page for now. Right, item 6 on the agenda, consider major planning applications received. Over to Jane.
Thank you. So we're going to start with item number 462 on the agenda, which is for the erection of extensions to both sides of the building of the Frome Park Bowls Club, which is situated in Victoria Park. Polly is just joining us, so I'll give her a moment to take a seat.
All right.
Better late than never. Is that all right?
It's quite absolutely fine. Just need to sign this. This is your... Thank you. I apologise for being late, document.
Yeah.
Because we are discussing the Bowls Club.
I think now that Polly's signed that, you'll have to vote again so that Polly also has dispensation. Sorry.
Vote that Polly has dispensation.
Thank you, and that's unanimous. Okay, so back to the plans. So yes, the Frome Park Bowls Club. You can see the site location plan here, just in case you don't know where it is. And then we've got the inset block plan here. The darker element shows the existing footprint of the club, and then these are the proposed side extensions. And then again in more detail, again this is the existing footprint and this is the proposed footprint. And as you can see, the path that runs around Victoria Park just runs along the back here. Then, sorry, I've got the zoom a bit on my screen and it's right over the plans that I'm talking about, so just let me move that. Okay, so this is the, in more detail, the existing footprint, and you can see that they have the function room and the changing rooms and a small kitchen at the end and some outbuildings here. And this is the proposed footprint. You can see that this sort of enables a larger function room area, improved changing room facilities. Will actually make the building accessible to more people and enable the club to host visiting teams, do you call them? Visiting teams in a, you know, in a much more comfortable manner, which I think has always been a bit of an issue to date. So these are the existing elevations. You can see the outbuildings I was referring to here, and then from the other side there. These are the proposed elevations. So as you can see, it's these elements on either side, and you'll also see the addition of some solar panels on the roof. And obviously some roof lights on the side here. So that's a very quick run through the plans. Just also to add that there are some trees that will need to be removed. The trees aren't covered by preservation orders, but they need to be removed to accommodate the two side extensions. That there is a proper arboriculturist report submitted with the application, which has obviously looked at root protection, and there are also proposed replanting of trees to replace those that are removed. And yes, any questions, comments?
What are the trees? Do we know? Silver birch, right? Okay. Thanks.
Before we, the ones that had to come down because, oh, sorry, beg your pardon.
Yeah, who's that one?
The ones that had to come down before because they were not great. I can't think of what was wrong with them, but the idea was to replant something mature, so that we're replacing kind of like for like. Is there a plan for that?
I believe there is a recommendation from the arboriculturist that a certain size of tree is replanted, so there won't be small saplings.
It doesn't necessarily have to be there, it could just be anywhere in the park.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, isn't Rob looking at all that to make sure they're in a good place and something like that? Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah.
And we're presenting.
Yeah.
And we're proposing a more substantial breed type selection of trees, which are going to be robust pines of some description, I believe.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? Philip?
Just a sort of slight aside, in terms of the expansion of the accommodation space for hosting, sort of in the middle, this is something I don't know, is that space available for community hire or something like that? You know, if somebody wanted to hire it, because it becomes then quite an attractive space.
Yeah, that is our proposal for the future, that it is more of a community asset. And
Sarah.
Sarah is fully aware of the plans and is in discussions with us on that aspect.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? No. I think we're all quite happy with this one, aren't we? Yeah. No issues. No. So.
Are you no objecting or fully supporting?
I think we fully support. I think it's a good extension to a good existing club, personally. So, fully support. Solar panels, ticks a lot of boxes.
And is it
Accessibility is much
Much better. So our proposal we fully support.
And that was seconded by Philip. And I can't see Polly, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, gents. Thanks for coming along, short and sweet, but there you go. Thanks for the plans, yeah. Great. Thanks, Steve. Good to see you. Yeah.
So, given that Damon is still waiting for somebody.
Anna's on her way. Julian, what time do you need to go? You're fine for an hour? All right, shall we... No, it's all right. Should we do Sandy Hill Lane?
Okay, so next on the list, we are going to, just bear with me, we're going out of order. We're going to discuss number 457 on our agenda. And I should also point out that this is actually quite closely linked to another item, number 460. They're both applications for Sandys Hill Lane. I'll run you through 457 to begin with. So this is actually a reserve matters application. And as you can see from the description, it's following the original outline approval, and this is actually the part of the scheme that was for the commercial use. You can see the area here on the location plan. If I can orientate, which one's Sainsbury's, Damon?
This is the one that's just to the left of the, on your left hand, that's it there.
There. So this is Sainsbury's here. This whole area that runs along and further on up is part of the outline where the commercial use was approved. This particular application sits within the red line, and here you can see the proposed retail unit.
Jay, just go that one. So, are we on the? Sorry, on the two diagrams on the screen. Does the green part on the right diagram correspond to the red line on the left?
Yes. So that is that is actually the other application that I was referring to. So they're both related to one another. This one actually has the detail of the building, whereas the other one is actually a variation of condition, which is where it gets a bit complicated. So I'll try and explain that as I go through. So this is a more detailed footprint of the unit, and as you can see the access here. One of the concerns that's been raised by Selwood Parish and some of the other objectors online is this being the only entrance, and actually this is where the HGVs for deliveries and so on would need to come through as well. They'll need to go right past the front of the unit, presumably, you know, where there'd be shoppers, etc. So there was some concern about the safety of that element.
And that's the car park, isn't it?
This, yes.
So it goes past the front of the store,
Yep.
through the car park,
Yep.
round the back.
Yes, yeah, also around there. And I think somebody else wasn't sure whether or not you would actually be able to swing an HGV around there, but personally, I'm not going to try. Thank you. Yeah, this is the footprint of the building in more detail. You know, it's typical large warehouse unit or retail unit. Not much to see. No. Likewise with the roof plan, apart from maybe noting the absence of any solar panels. It's a big expansive roof. I think it's we should at least make sure that it's constructed sufficiently so that it's load bearing and to enable the solar panels on there. And here are the elevations.
This is a store.
This is a store, yeah. I believe it's going to be the Family Bargains store or Home Bargains.
Bargains,
Yeah. So yes, it is a very big building. And then lastly, it's very confusing how they're not showing the other unit, but it is shown on here so that they can show the landscaping for this application. You might recall that there's residential that was granted as part of a previous outline as well, and there was a bund between the residential. I don't know why I'm pointing there. So this is the proposed landscaping. Before, so before we have a more detailed discussion about that application, just to mention the one that's linked to it. So this is the element that we were referring to as phase 2, and this is actually for a variation of condition 28 on the outline planning permission. What they're asking to vary is the condition that sets out the amount of floor space of that was approved under the outline application. There are no plans to accompany it. It is just a variation of condition, but actually by varying the condition, it could have a significant impact on how the site is laid out. Spent quite a lot of time looking at this application. I got very confused. And actually, if you, yeah,
If we take the second one first,
yeah,
how can we comment if there's no information?
I think
So we just object on the basis there's no information.
there is.
Get rid of that one.
Well, for the purposes of the variation of a condition, they have submitted enough information to enable it to be registered. I personally don't believe there's enough information to make an informed decision.
There you go. So that's.
Oh.
That's it. So let's get rid of that one. Let's focus on the first one.
Sorry, that was going to be my question. If it's insufficient, are they looking to increase the floor space? Or are they looking to reduce? And given we have a very, very topical development in the centre of the town that's argued their case on retail space, if you haven't got enough information, how can you possibly make a decision? I may respectfully suggest, members. It's all right, I will have something to say on the other one as well. And I'm a member of the public, so I don't have to declare that I actually work for Sainsbury's, do I? No.
No, you just have. But,
Yeah. Have you done this before, sir?
yeah, exactly. Is this your first time in this meeting, David? Right. Okay. So back to the first one then.
Back to the first one. So yes, I mean, I don't know whether councillors have had the opportunity to read the comments from the Civic Society, but they have summed up the issues for both applications very well. Made quite a lot of points. I don't really want to read them in full to you, but essentially they are saying that there's a dangerous conflict between public access and delivery access.
Yeah.
They've previously raised concerns about the likely impact the Cure development will have on the Sainsbury's roundabout, and given that with the addition of this retail unit plus the additional floor space of the other unit, they're concerned about the further impacts that that's going to have on the roundabout. They're concerned about the exclusive use of grey on the elevations, particularly anthracite, which is very dark grey, saying it will look miserable, and because it actually sits on the top of a hill, from a distance, it's going to look even more miserable, look like a prison, yeah. So that's just a really brief summary of that element of it. They don't believe that there are enough documents submitted to enable the condition to be discharged. And on the second application, so this one, they're saying that because the application seeks to vary a condition of a non-material amendment to the original outline planning application, the condition restricts the floor space of the site to 3,200 square metres. And actually the covering letter submitted with the application is inconsistent in respect of the amount of floor space that they're talking about varying. So I won't read it in full, but you get the gist. And actually, you know, I really don't think there's anything more that we can add to that because they have covered it very well.
So on the first application, to me the three key issues apart from the grey anthracite are the HGV going into the site where pedestrians are going to be, trying to negotiate the car park to get to the loading area at the back, which seems dangerous, full stop. Lack of solar. Lack of solar on the roof. Yeah, it's the perfect roof, isn't it, to put solar panels on. They should be putting them on. I mean, I think they just should be putting them on, not even making it acceptable to put solar panels on. I think just put them on. And the landscaping, the hedge just doesn't seem adequate for the people living behind to the side. It should be much better landscaping than just a hedge, which is going to take a number of years to mature, I would have thought. Those are my thoughts. I don't know if anyone else has got anything else. Philip?
Yeah, this is on my ward, and I've spoken to a couple of people about it. One of the, I've got two main concerns. One is light, in terms of how the area is going to be lit, because the car park will need...
pollution.
Yeah. Well, light pollution in terms of the environment, and also light pollution for residents, because the very nature that there is large car parking area that will have to be illuminated for safety reasons. So there is that major concern. And I think above that, a real major concern, and I've got the acoustic report in front of me, is the sound issues from cooling fans and various other plant from the building, because from what I can see, it's not going to be placed on the roof. Therefore, it will be outward facing. And as I know from a couple of cases that I'm dealing with on the ward, the values that are shown in the actual acoustic report may seem reasonable, but actually the long, constant 24-hour drone of those fans is, for people, is very, very, will really affect their quality of life. So I would be very, very concerned about those two aspects.
Environmental health? Do you know if there's environmental health?
Environmental protection. I can double check that for you. I think I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I was involved in this in my time, in my previous life, let's put it that way, but also as I work at Sainsbury's. You've mentioned one of the issues already. There's no excuse for them not to have solar panels, none whatsoever, and they should have that. Traffic management, have they got a traffic management plan? Of late, whilst they've been doing some of the building works, some of the preparatory works, shall we just say McDonald's has become a nightmare. Not that I ever frequent that establishment, but the traffic issues go all the way back onto the Butts. No, it's not the Butts. I should know this, but Marston Lane, Marston Road goes all the way back that far. And therefore, if you're going to have delivery trucks coming in or people coming in, that's going to be an issue. So there needs to be a robust and proper traffic management plan. They can get HGVs in there, because I used to drive them, and I know for a fact I can get one in there, no problem whatsoever. How many people and how many hedges and how many trees you take out on the way in is another matter, but they need a robust traffic management plan if they don't have one already. The light pollution and the noise pollution, for those of us who've been around a little while, all I'll say is Commerce Park and the issues that came around Commerce Park. They, in the end, put up a more substantial bund and acoustic fencing, as well as proper screening. That is what's needed here. Otherwise, when the houses start being built, you're going to get problems of people complaining about the noise, and quite rightly too. You know, why should they buy a house and then be subject to all this sort of issues? I think Phil mentioned about the vents and that on the top of the building or the side of the building. I don't know what it's called this week because it used to change regularly. It used to be Johnson's, it used to be Tyco one particular week. I was involved in several issues around there a number of years ago for exactly the same issue, and they resolved it. So it's not an insoluble problem. So were I sat where you are now, I would say no. At the moment, it's not enough information, and what they've provided is inadequate.
Can I just come back on a couple of other things? On the noise pollution issue, the one case I'm dealing with on elsewhere on the ward, it's plant on the side of a building, which is only 9 meters from someone's conservatory in the back of the house and bedroom, 4 of them. And the acoustic report said it was okay, but they actually didn't consider the residents. And then acoustic fencing has been put up, acoustic padding within the fencing has been put up, the height of the fencing has been increased, the fans have been put into boxes, metal boxes, which actually makes them sound like drums, and it's not changed it at all. I'm sure an acoustic engineer will come along and tell me that it's been reduced by 15%, but it means absolutely nothing. So I think it's better to try and sort this at the planning stage rather than the remedial work, which actually doesn't work in a lot of cases.
Thanks for waiting.
It's fine. I just was thinking that if we were balancing all of these objections against some great need for another family bargain store full of plastic, then it would be, you know, a difficult decision. But why? Does anyone know why we would need another one of these? And there's a lot of this already.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, competition's not necessarily a planning consideration.
Well, no, but if you're talking about poor access and that's the current agricultural land, isn't it? Yeah. That's a tiny lane that it goes up. I just can't see that it's justified, really. That's all I'm saying.
We haven't heard, Somerset Highways haven't commented.
No, Somerset Highways haven't commented, but we need to remember that there's already an outline approval.
Dip or
Would have been Mendip.
yeah.
Okay, any other comments? I think we're pretty clear, aren't we? Objecting on numerous.
Do you want me to summarise?
Yeah, try and summarise if you can.
So in summary for the Reserve Matters application, we're concerned about the HGV access and the proximity of pedestrians, a missed opportunity to put solar on the roof, landscaping is not sufficient, concerned about the colour and appearance of the elevations, light pollution, including from the lighting of the car park, traffic impacts on the roundabout, and there needs to be a proper traffic management plan in place, the noise impact from the cooling fans, etc. And for the second application, which is the variation of the condition or the non-material amendment, there isn't sufficient information to make an informed decision.
Great, thank you very much. Someone propose that for me? Thanks, Philip. Someone second, thanks, Mark.
And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we will move on to
The
the
tree.
tree. So this is application number 466 on our list, and it's for 18 Westwood Drive. and it's for the removal of an oak tree that is protected by a tree protection order. And sorry, just bear with me while I find my notes. So here you can see the site location plan, here being said tree. It is a large heritage oak tree, and it does provide residential amenities and a focal point of the estate. If I just move on to the street view image there, I think you can see how much of a focal point that is. Clearly the tree was there before the houses. And the application has actually been submitted because of an insurance claim where it's claimed that the tree is actually causing damage to one of the properties. And I know we have various people here who want to speak, so it's probably who know much more about it than me, so probably best to let them have their say first.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
All right, thanks. Good evening. My name's Julian Height. I'm a heritage tree specialist, and I'm here to speak for retaining the tree. So, as you say, it is a heritage tree. It's a beautiful old oak. Predates the development by centuries, I would say. It's a 4.5 metre girthed Quercus robur. So it's an English oak. We could even say that it's a Selwood oak, if you like. You know, it could date back to the time of an ancient Selwood forest, which of course was very important in the development of Frome. So the developers, when they built this estate, had they decided they had the good feeling to keep the tree. So it is actually, it is a community asset. It's, I mean, its location is a beautiful tree. I mean, and it does stand 17 metres from the house that is applying to have it felled. So I did notice that the trouble with the substance that they're complaining about is it was actually built as a garage. It's only got 250 millimetre foundations, which you wouldn't expect for a live-in building which has been converted to. So the foundations really are inadequate. If it had the proper 900 mil, it would probably, tree wouldn't be affecting it. And it is some distance from the house, so I've no doubt that the roots would reach that far. But what we're looking at, as most of Frome, it's a clay soil. We've had terrible weather in the last few years. I mean, and this year, the Met Office statistics saw a record amount of rainfall leading up to April of this year. And we've also had, we don't know what we're going to get this year, but in the past few years, we've had really hot drought springs and summers. So that clay acts as a sponge. It soaks and releases the water. So I would say that that's probably as much to blame, or more so to blame, than the tree. So, and also the application, it doesn't confirm that it's the tree because their auger got stuck and they couldn't make the full depth report for the tree roots. So the application says on the balance of probabilities that it is this tree that's causing the problems. And I'd think, you know, for a tree of this stature, that really is probably not enough. It's certainly not proof that the tree's causing this. I mean, and looking at this tree, we've got, if we can balance this, I mean, a tree of this age, I mean, you could replace the tree with a young tree, but you're not going to get the same benefits that a tree of this stature gives. In also, I mean, oak is the best tree we've got for wildlife, for biodiversity. They can support up to 2,300 species. You know, it's way ahead of any other tree. The nearest one is ash, 750 species, but as we know, we're losing ashes. And I do find that in the application, it does mention that if they don't have the application agreed, they're going to claim for compensation, because we've got the balance here. It's a financial consideration. So it's £2,500 to fell the tree. It's £25,000 to underpin the house. So it's basically the insurance company, as far as I can see, trying to save money. And that might seem like an excessive amount of money, but when you think of the biodiversity, the heritage, the community value of this tree, I really think that it's worth weighing up and not felling on the balance of probabilities that this could be causing the problem. You know, I have to say, You've got to have some sympathy for the people. If they've got substance, that's not a good thing. But I really don't think, from my experience, that this would be, you can say 100% that it's this tree. I mean, it was granted a TPO in the 90s for really good reason. That's the only protection we have for trees. And if it can be overwritten this easily, we've been losing these trees year on year. Last year, we lost a cedar of Lebanon in Frome. And year on year, I've seen us lose our heritage trees. You can see oaks like this around the surrounding area. We've got Longley, Orchardley, all these estates where the big trees can be left alone and grow. But in the town centre, we've got very few mature trees like this. And I think it's so important to keep them for heritage, cultural, and biodiversity reasons. And I think you should reject the application. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. Damon.
Cheers. For those who don't know me, Damon Hooton. I used to be the district councillor here for
knows you, David.
God knows how many years, I think 20 at last count. And this is deja vu for me, because about 2.5 years ago, I ended up with the same issue, the same tree and the same person trying to get the same outcome, the tree to be removed. This tree is over 300 years old. It's the last one from the old Critchell Manor. And as the gentleman said there, it was left there for a reason. It is an asset. And Anna Sabine, who's behind me, and may well wish to speak as well, we just happened to go down and speak to some of the residents last week. We were dealing with a couple of issues down there, and not one of those residents wants the tree to be removed. In fact, I know this relates to 18 Westwood Drive. The person in number 20 Westwood Drive advised me that there were issues with the drains, and they came out, Wessex Water came out and had a look at the drains. The only house in that row that had problems was number 18. And the problems with the drains were not caused by tree, they were caused by wet wipes and human detritus. They fixed it, and there's not been another problem. Wessex Water did inspect the other trees as well, the other drains as well. There's not a problem at all. It's already been explained about heave and shrinkage and all that sort of stuff, and the effect it can have, and that is more likely to be the cause at the moment. The person who is making the application has had some work done in their house, and I think it would be unfair of me to say anything other than it sounds to me like it's a bit of a bodge job and they're trying to get somebody to pay for it. Why should it be the tree? Why should it be for the community? Why should it even be the council? I've had a look through the tree report from the insurance company, and it is twaddle. Sorry, they're doing the typical planning thing. They're writing a report to support the outcome they want, and I've seen that over the years as well. I'm going to ask, please, that you reject this application. You can choose your reasons. I've given you some. I know the gentleman to my right has given you some as well. This tree needs to be preserved. And whilst I am reaching a certain vintage, if it looks like it's going to come down, I may well go and have a look and see whether I can climb in it and stay in it for a while. Although how the hell you'll get me down again, I don't know.
You won't. Yeah, in some ways, I hope you do, Damon. Yeah. In some ways, I hope you don't, won't you? Yeah. Thanks, Damon. Would you like to say anything?
All I'd like to say is that picture doesn't do it justice. It's a spectacular tree, and yeah, we went to look at it, and the residents that came out were all very clear that they wanted it to stay. So,
great, thank you. Councillors, anything to add? Go on, Mark.
Who actually owns it? Is it Somerset Council now, as was? So a private individual's asking for a public tree to be knocked down. As you say, they're using the term balance of probabilities because that's a civil law thing, isn't it, rather than criminal law beyond all reasonable doubt. And so that's why they put that in the words that if it does go to law to say, I want compensation for the balance between £2,500 and £25,000, they're writing their report with that in mind already, by the sound of it. So, Julian, you're the expert. What is the alternative to knocking it down that would satisfy the householder?
The alternative is to make a root barrier which is probably as expensive as underpinning the house, somewhere around that £25,000. So you are looking at that kind of expense, or underpinning the house. That is, if it's the tree, you know.
Can I just add one point, Mark? One point before you go on. Sorry, Mark. And I've gone through this myself because I had a tree immediately adjacent to the wall of my, not my house wall, but the wall that runs down the garden wall. And when I asked my insurance company to have a look, they said, do not go anywhere near, saying that you're suffering from subsidence, otherwise you'll find your house is unsaleable. So she needs to be careful what she's asking for.
And you've already identified that it's affecting a garage wall, which, as you say, isn't built the same standard as a house wall, even though the garage has been adopted into the fabric of the residence. So if it were an ordinary wall, we think, or you think, it wouldn't have been affected like this anyway, if it is the tree to blame. So it's sort of self-inflicted in a way. Yeah, I recommend we object to this.
Thanks, Mark.
Can I just comment on having been on the receiving end of this at a house that we used to own in Bath Road that suffered from subsidence, which was clearly, when we had our own independent report commissioned, was clearly simply the fact that it was built on clay. But we were asked to remove a number of trees at the front of the house, which we were then told actually could cause the reverse, it could cause the heave. Just looking at one of the, I think it's slide 7 that's on the screen there, and looking at, it may not be exactly to scale, but looking at the distance that the tree is from the building, but also the fact that there seem to be trees within the garden area, bushes and what have you. From my experience, I was told that, you know, even bushes like that can have quite a significant effect in terms of, you know, taking water from the soil, which can then affect, you know, and cause subsidence. But from my own personal experiences and from this, I would say, and having dealing with insurance companies, I would say that it's trying to find, you know, a reason by an insurance company so that they can progress in the way that they want to, in their interests, not necessarily the tree's interests.
Sorry, the person who owns those two TG1s, those bushes, was one of the people we spoke to. She's a vet, so you know I've got to be careful how I put this. So she's, you know, she's a bright lady and very articulate, and she said that they'd had a look at those, they'd taken advice, and they've actually had those. Not preserved, but there's been mitigation put there to make sure that they don't become an issue.
They're very lucky to have the tree, and they're very lucky to have all these people come and give their expertise and opinions and time. But, you know, how dare they really? If they've got no absolute proof, then there isn't any way that any sane council would pass this, really.
Great, thanks. Not a great deal more to add than always been said, apart from one thing. I find a threat from an insurance company like Lloyd's, who is, I believe, absolutely distasteful. I could use much stronger language, but it's been recorded. Yeah, don't threaten people, you know, to go to law. When you're an insurance company, you're there to sort of solve problems, not create them. I'm trying to get hold of Lloyd's, the insurance side of Lloyd's, because they do have a nature officer, believe it or not, but she hasn't got back to me yet. So when she does, I will let you know what she has to say about this. Yeah, object, strongly object, very, very strongly object. I don't know how much very strongly we can object, but as much as we can, I guess.
I think we'll object, and I'll list the reasons that we've heard from both Julian and
yeah, I mean, that in itself is a threat, I suppose, isn't it?
and proof required.
Yes.
Required. So someone proposed that for me. Thanks, Mark.
And that's unanimous, thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's going to be a bit of it might be a fight, but we'll see how we go. But keep us all in the loop, and we'll do the same to you guys, I think. Yeah, I know. It's outrageous. Yeah. Yeah, well, I reckon we could, well, anyway, yeah.
Oh, sorry, just one last comment. All the other residents that you spoke to who didn't want to see the tree removed, presumably they've been advised to respond to the application? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Lovely, thank you.
Great, thank you, guys.
We'll obviously going to put something out to them because,
Yeah. Yeah.
Politician always.
Exactly, never sleeps. Right, is there anything else? Great, thank you, guys. Yeah, you can stay.
So we do have one more.
Yeah, just put it there. Thanks, mate. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks, Julian.
So we do have one more on the list, although I'm not sure that that actually needs to be on the list, but it's on there, so we'll go through it. So this is number 454, and it's for B&Q, which is at Station Approach, and the installation of 3 illuminated and 4 non-illuminated signs and door vinyls. So you can see the site plan here. I don't know how clearly you can see all these little numbers, but they identify the various different signs. Here is some of the sign in more detail, but I think the next one probably shows, and as we all know, the signage is already there. I think the reason that this got put on the list is that what's happened is it has been, the ward councillors have been consulted because to ask whether or not it should go to planning board. So nothing has changed. There are no additional plans, and I would say that actually, you know, our previous objection was fairly strong, and we can, but I don't think there's a need to submit any further comments. As I say, it's literally just a recommendation for it to be referred up to the Somerset Planning Board by the relevant Somerset Ward councillor.
Good. Yeah, it should be, shouldn't it, really?
I was spotted by the chair this afternoon in my high-vis jacket.
You're almost brighter than the orange sign.
Almost. It seems a bit of overkill to me, but having spoken to Robin, the resident who lives directly opposite, his main concern is that the signage can be, particularly the top left, not the top left, yes, top left, illuminated signs are on sometimes till 11:30. And that causes them quite a lot of issues. I did try and, I did knock on a couple of other residents directly opposite, but nobody at home. And because they're elevated, number 6 is one I went to, it would shine directly into the living space, into the living room. So that needs to be perhaps reinstated, reaffirmed about the times that illumination should and should not be on.
See it from a long way.
I can't recall off the top of my head if we recommended a time by which it should be turned off last time we commented.
The resident I spoke to was under the impression that it was 8 o'clock in the evening, and 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening.
And they're currently on until 11 at night.
It's random. The reason that they know that it's gone off is that they notice it's gone off rather than knowing that it goes off at a certain time.
Yeah.
It generally tends to stay on until people are in the building.
Yeah. Okay. The people, presumably the people that you've been speaking to have also commented on the application themselves. I would say if they haven't, perhaps encourage them to do that, because then if it does go up to the planning board, they'll get notified. And I think, the best thing that they could do would be actually go to that meeting and say in person the impact that it's having on them.
Yep, I don't know exactly, but I will check. Thanks.
Philip, thank you.
Is there anything to vote on? Not really, because we're not really, sorry. Is there anything to vote on? Because we're not really changing anything, are we?
I mean, Philip's suggestion was that, we reaffirm our objection to the timing that the lights are on. I mean, I can either do that as a formal consultation response, or I can contact the case officer by email. But I would say we've discussed it, so
Let's vote then.
Let's vote, yeah.
Let's vote to reaffirm our original objection, highlighting the timings of the lights being on. Thanks, Polly.
So that was posed by Steve, seconded by Polly, and that's unanimous. Thank you. So I haven't actually highlighted any others to discuss in detail unless there are any specifically that councillors wish to raise. In which case then, could you vote on the remaining applications in line with the comments provided by Catherine? That's proposed by Steve, seconded by Philip, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. That's it. Thanks, everyone. Next meeting is on the 9th of May, 2024, although... What? May Day. Is it? And it's Jane's birthday for everybody. Yeah. And she won't be here. Oh, she'll be... Anyway, yeah. Anyway, happy birthday to Jane for the 9th of May. Thanks very much. Good night, everyone.